Hey, Walking Dead fans, welcome back to Chronocord Media and our coverage of Season 6 of The Walking Dead. We are here to break down Episode 2, titled JSS, along with my co-host C-Dub. My name is JC. What an action-packed episode we just saw in JSS. So many new developments to tackle here on our review and reactions to The Walking Dead Episode 2. I can't think of another 1-2 punch in the entire Walking Dead series as we have seen with these first 2 episodes of Season 6. Ladies and gents, make sure to subscribe to Chronocord Media to keep up to date with all of our Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead content. Before we get started, anyone who has not seen Episode 2, JSS, this is your spoiler warning, and you have 3, 2, 1 to turn this off and go watch the episode and come right back for our take. C-Dub, what was your first impression after watching this episode?
I really like, JC, how this episode brought the action literally right to the group of survivors. And I thought this was a nice pace of story-related development, character development, and action.
Yeah, they seem to do less flashbacks in this one, and they help you catch up to the time when that annoying truck horn goes off. We find out the source of that later in the episode. But let's start out with the beginning of the episode, C-Dub. We see the backstory of Enid. Finally, we get a clue into her past. We see her with her mom and dad. They get attacked. The parents are presumably killed, and unfortunately being eaten right in front of Enid in a car. And then we see her walking alone. She's hiding from groups of zombies. She comes across a car, locks herself in it, and writes JSS again. We see her starting to write these initials. And then she finds a poor little turtle, but she's got to eat. She's out on her own. And she forms the initials JSS again in turtle bones. And finally, she finds Alexandria. She's a little hesitant to go in, and as she does, she writes JSS on her hand. This has got to have a bigger meaning, and we will find that out later in the show. C-Dub, what did you make of Enid's backstory?
Wow, I thought Enid was pretty brutal. It seems like she really changed after seeing her parents be killed, despite her trying to warn them as they were repairing the car, and they didn't listen to her warning. Man, she really took to it pretty quick, found that turtle and just ate it raw. That's pretty gross. I can speak from experience that those things smell pretty bad. And then, yeah, the turtle bones, JSS in the dirt, JSS and turtle bones. Seems like she's really sticking with this JSS. And initially, I gotta say, I thought it might be initials, perhaps, but we'll find out more about that. But we move on to Carol in the kitchen, the pantry, looking for some ingredients that people don't usually use, and having a discussion with the other Susie homemaker wife types of Alexandria. We once again hear the pasta lady, who just will not shut the hell up, mentions the pasta maker again, and Carol says that she'll teach her how to, as long as she doesn't smoke in the house. Kind of gives her a bit of a lecture about smoking. Kind of tells her that it's not good to smoke whenever there's other things that could kill you. She's kind of cold about it, and I thought it was really funny to see Carol posturing with these other women like it was the Real Housewives of Alexandria. Pretty funny. And as Carol walks home, she finds the youngest son of Jesse sitting on her steps and pretty well tells him again coldly, she's not very nice to this kid. Your dad's gone because he was stupid. Rick killed him because he was stupid and he put people in danger. And you need to get over it, kid. Carol, wow, pretty brutal, huh, JC?
Yeah, it's really interesting to see her turn from Susie Homemaker back into badass Carol, doing a pretty good job of hitting that switch real quick and putting on that facade for the Alexandrians. So now we're seeing Jesse talking to her oldest son, Ron, in the kitchen. He's being an emo punk, really annoying. I hope this kid gets it really soon. Tired of the teen angst crap. Get over it. And of course, Ron thinks Rick is dangerous, but Jesse says that she is friends with Rick, and that pisses off emo boy even more. Deanna and Maggie are beyond the walls planning the expansion of Alexandria and starting a garden. Eugene and Tara are in the Alexandria Hospital, and we are introduced to a new character, C-Dub, Denise, and she apparently will be the new doctor in Alexandria. That is not good news.
definitely not good. We also find out that Tara is apparently having some headaches and dizziness. Denise agrees to look her over. We're then transitioned into seeing Carl, who is walking Judith down the Alexandria streets. And as he does, he sees Ron and Enid by the lake. Before he can even really react to it, though, Gabriel happens upon him and apologizes to Carl for suggesting to Deanna that Rick, Carl, and the rest of the group were a danger to the Alexandrians whenever they arrived, and that they should have been made to leave. Gabriel then asks Carl for some weapons training, and Carl suggests in retaliation that Gabriel should apologize to everybody in the group and admit to what he did, but reluctantly he agrees to train Gabriel, starting with the machete. And as Carl turns away to leave with Judith, he sees Enid consoling Ron, hugging him near the lake. Looks like Ron is crying like a little bitch.
And it seems like there's going to be that teen tension between Ron and Carl and Enid if she can stick around in Alexandria long enough. But I thought it was interesting how Gabriel approached Carl and was very apologetic. Maybe Gabriel finally has come around and he's realizing he needs to contribute more to help the people of Alexandria survive. Now, the big moment in the episode to me, C-Dub, was when Carol was in the kitchen cooking up some ziti. And she's looking out the window. She sees Shelly, the pasta lady, having a smoke, and whack! She gets hit by a machete, and you can tell the wolves are invading the safe zone.
Yeah, JC, that was a pivotal moment. Really, really intense. It seems like Carol's prediction has come true. Something other than a smoke took her down. Initially, that big, huge, burly guy coming out of nowhere with the machete, man. You didn't really get a very quick look, but I thought first impressions, that's got to be the wolves. And we didn't really have any confirmation just yet, but we'll find out shortly. We then transition to Deanna and Maggie hearing the screams from Shelly, the pasta woman. They then see Richard up atop the guard tower hit with a Molotov cocktail and falls over the wall on fire. Deanna is completely in shell shock seeing the body burn, and Maggie seems to realize that they got to get the hell out of there and go meet up with the others. We then cut to Carol reacting to the screams, telling Carl to stay at the house and protect Judith. As we transition over to seeing Jessie telling her youngest son to go into the closet, the one that used to protect him from his father whenever he would be on his alcoholic tirade. But before Jessie can finish, they hear an intruder coming in the house, and smartly Jessie accompanies her son into the closet, and they lock themselves in. I gotta say, this locked closet thing is coming in handy here for Jessie and her family.
Yep, it's a full-on invasion of Alexandria by the wolves. Carl's protecting the house. Enid shows up, and she's saying she's going to leave, but Carl won't let her, and he needs her help protecting Judith. C-Dub, it seemed like so many innocent Alexandrians were being butchered. Rick was right. They are not ready. Carol puts a housewife out of her misery after she's gutted. I mean, the wolves are just running wild all over Alexandria. Spencer's trying to take out guys from the watchtower with his rifle, and all of a sudden we see the big rig that we predicted in episode 1. It comes right for the wall and crashes into it, causing that horn to just blare out. We see a patient who is wounded named Holly, and she goes into the hospital. Eugene stays behind to quote-unquote protect them. Spencer comes down to turn off the big rig horn, and Morgan shows up to do the same thing. Morgan decides to go back into town and fight, and is immediately in a showdown with a wolf. Carol comes up and takes him out. She's in full disguise as a wolf, and Carol wants help getting to the armory before they can. Morgan says, "You don't have to kill people. Come on, what the fuck, Morgan? You gotta realize that you have to do this to survive at this point."
I do like that Morgan is sticking with his morals and trying to avoid killing other human survivors unless he has to. But like you said, at some point, you just gotta get rid of that resistance and just start surviving.
So Spencer's outside of the walls, and he is reunited with his mother, Deanna, and Maggie. And Maggie, just like Morgan, and just like a lot of Rick's people, they have that urge to go right in and fight back. But C-Dub, Deanna wusses out just like her son did. Though it is wise for her to stay back, I think, because like she said, she's unarmed, and Spencer is there to protect her.
Yeah, that was probably a wise choice by Deanna as far as her survival. We then flash to Tara trying to get Denise to perform what is revealed to be femoral artery surgery. And rightfully so, Denise is pretty much refusing. She's panicked. As was revealed earlier, she's anxiety-stricken. Eugene then comes up and tells her, pretty much sympathetically as a fellow coward, that he knows that she doesn't want to be a coward, and this is pretty much her chance to step up and do it. Denise then finally snaps out of it, takes charge, and agrees to do the surgery to attempt to save the wounded Alexandrian's life. We then flash to Carl, who saves Ron from a wolf attack by shooting the wolves member in the leg. And as the wolf is down, pleading for his life, he then tries to wrestle the gun from an unsuspecting Carl, who gains control back and finally shoots the wolf. He tells Ron to go inside for protection at the house with him and Enid. Ron refuses, though, JC, and leaves them after shooting a strange glance at Enid.
Yeah, C-Dub, I'm getting really tired of Ron already. What a dumbass. It's like he can't put his pride aside just for safety. He knows if he goes in that house, he will look like a coward to Enid and he can't protect himself, which is true. All I gotta say is, unfortunately, Carl saved Ron, and I think that might come back to bite him later. So Jessie leaves the closet where her and her youngest son is, and she is attacked in her house by a female wolf. And as the wolf goes for Jessie's gun, Jessie grabs some scissors and just stabs the hell out of the wolf. And right at that moment, Ron walks in and is in complete shock. So Carol, in disguise as a wolf, is escorting Morgan as if he is captured. But Morgan sees Gabriel in distress and goes to help him. And at that point, Gabriel kind of realizes that you can take people out without killing them. I think Gabriel might become on the side of Morgan going forward with the moral stances and all. Carol comes up and shoots the wolf and offers a gun to Gabriel and Morgan declines. C-Dub, we're seeing the wolves looting all the houses and taking belongings, trying to flee with things that they could use on the outside. Aaron and Rosita are ambushing some of them. Carol's taking them out as well. Morgan is meanwhile having an inner crisis. You can just tell by the look on his face and by his demeanor as he's walking through the safe zone. And then Morgan gets in some big trouble, dude. Surrounded by like 5 or 6 wolves, and he, of course, in true Morgan style, just bow staffs their ass all to the ground while he's telling that one wolf that he better leave. And presumably he's going to let them live, which is always a mistake in The Walking Dead.
Yeah, that was not a very wise decision, much like Morgan did before whenever he ran into the wolves out on the trail in season 5. He let them go after dishing out a real ass kicking. And once again, the decision has come back to bite him. I don't know why he would then let them go again. I mean, I understand his morals, but we're talking about survival here. Sometimes you have to put that aside.
Now, I don't know about you, C-Dub, but at this point in the episode, I was realizing, man, there's not going to be any Rick or any of that crew that were at the quarry in this episode. And I think that's fitting because the last episode definitely focused on them a lot. And it's good that they caught up with what was going on back at Alexandria before and after the truck horn.
I kind of like this perspective, JC. I thought it was interesting. It seems, though, as we'll get into in discussing the preview for next week, that we're going to see what happens with Rick and his side of the group in next week's episode. But at this point, we see Carol go and pick up her dead neighbor's cigarettes as she sits on the porch and reflects on the events of the day. She wipes the bloody W off of her forehead, and it seems like that her having to put down that mortally wounded Alexandrian earlier in the episode because she would not quit screaming, whether she was actually going to live or die or not. Carol was pretty quick to that decision, and it seems like it's really starting to weigh heavy on her. She's seemingly debating her comments earlier to the woman about the cigarettes possibly killing you. And finally, Carol says the hell with it. She elects to light up and seemingly is submitting to the idea that at this point she's no better than the wolves, having to kill other humans to survive.
So we're finally starting to see a dent in Carol's armor. She's typically been very strong the past 2 seasons or so. We see Aaron going through the streets and finishing off anyone who hasn't turned yet, and he finds the backpack with all of the photos he had And C-Dub, he's starting to realize that he might have been the cause of what happened. He might have gave away Alexandria and what it looked like inside.
Yeah, unfortunately, that seems to be the case, JC. Aaron finally realizes that whenever he lost that backpack in Season 5, it gave the wolves a lot of intel, and we're going to see how he reacts to this perhaps guilt going forward. We then flash over to the surgery patient flatlining on Dr. Denise as Tara and Eugene look on. Denise kind of freaks out and tells everybody to leave. She's in a panic again, and they do, but Tara is quick to remind her that she's got to stab the dead in the head to prevent them from turning. We then see Deanna, Spencer, Maggie, and Rosita near the perimeter, clearing the remaining dead. Deanna is seemingly still really shell-shocked at what all's happened. Maggie is quick to remind her that she's alive, she survived.
And we see Rosita talking with Spencer, and Spencer's questioning her like, is this really what it's like out there? And unfortunately, Spencer, it is. I think it's going to be tough for him to adjust.
We then go to Carl, who is looking for Enid, and he only finds a note near the door that says, just survive somehow. So there it is, JSS, just survive somehow. That's great, Enid. Although she did keep her promise, JC, to not say goodbye as Carl requested earlier in the episode. So, hey, at least she stuck to that. Carl didn't seem too fazed by it, kind of shrugs it off. He takes the food out of the oven as the kitchen timer that Carol set earlier. Wow, that's a lot of chaos that happened in under 1 hour real time, JC.
Like I said at the top, this episode was just as action-packed as episode 1. It just did not let up. Here we are at the final scene of episode 2, JSS, just survive somehow. And Morgan goes into a vacant house with the door wide open, and he gets attacked by the wolf that he let live at the end of season 5. There is a struggle, but Morgan gets the best of him. We see Morgan hit him with the bow staff, but was it a fatal blow? We do not know, C-Dub. Is he making another mistake and letting him live again?
I have to guess, JC, that Morgan finally submitted in that scene to realizing he's got to kill these people to survive. They're not going to stop their pursuit, just like their canine companions. These wolves are ferocious.
And that wraps it up for episode 2. Certainly advanced the story very far ahead. The wolves are already attacking, and it's only episode 2. Now, most likely that was not the whole wolf pack out there. There are probably more on the way. And it's going to be interesting in the next episode, which we saw a preview of, to see Rick and the gang heading back to Alexandria. And perhaps they might run into that group that Morgan let go.
Yeah, JC, it's going to be cool to see in episode 3 next week, perhaps the Rick and company side of this story. I hope that it resumes where episode 1 left off with the car horn. What we now know was a big rig horn from slamming into Alexandria's walls. I'm hoping that we get to see Rick and the rest of that group make their way back to Alexandria and the problems that they encounter. We do know that Sasha and Abraham were quite a ways ahead of the pack, as well as Daryl. They are mobile, however, in vehicles. We don't know how much gas they're going to have. A lot of questions unanswered for next week. Folks, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe for our weekly Walking Dead reviews and reactions. Stick around and check out the rest of our Walking Dead content, including our Fear the Walking Dead Season 1 recaps, and be sure to check out the rest of our great videos here at Chronocord Media. For my co-host, JC, I'm C-Dub. Just survive somehow.